Okay, today we are going on a journey way back, way back, 12,000 years, to a place in modern day Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. This isn't just any old ruin, it's a discovery that has completely flipped our understanding of the ancient world on its head, and we're about to find out exactly why. Everything we thought we knew about how civilization started had a pretty simple order. First, people figured out farming. Then, they built villages and settled down. And only after all that, with food to spare, did they get around to complex stuff like religion and building huge temples. But what if that whole timeline is completely backwards? What if the deeply human need to come together and worship is actually what kicked off civilization in the first place? That is the absolutely revolutionary question that Göbekli Tepe forces us to ask. The story of how Göbekli Tepe was found is almost as incredible as the site itself. For decades, this world-changing monument was just hiding in plain sight, with experts walking right past it thinking it was something else entirely. So back in the 1960s, surveyors noticed this strange hill. They found some flint tools, some big broken pieces of limestone, and they basically shrugged. Their conclusion? Probably just an old abandoned medieval cemetery. And that was it. The site was almost lost for good. That is, until 1994. A German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt heard about the site from local farmers, and he decided to go have a look. He saw those same limestone slabs, and he knew, instantly, this was no cemetery. This was something much, much older. The scale of this misinterpretation is just staggering. What one group of experts dismissed as a few broken gravestones, another recognized as the pillars of the world's very first temple. This wasn't just a minor correction in the history books. This was like finding out the whole first chapter was wrong. But as the digging started, the real mystery began to unfold. The site was so ancient and so sophisticated that it just seemed impossible. It was this incredible achievement of engineering, built by people we had always thought were, well, frankly, way too primitive for a project like this. Okay, let's really let that age sink in. 11,600 years old. That's more than twice as old as the Great Pyramid of Giza. It predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years. We're talking about the very dawn of the Neolithic age, a time we used to picture as just small nomadic groups, not master architects. And these aren't little structures either. The whole site is made of these massive T-shaped limestone pillars. Many of them weigh between 10 and 20 tons. They even found one in a nearby quarry that was left unfinished. It would have weighed 50 tons. And remember, this was all done without any domesticated animals to pull the weight, and long before the invention of the wheel. It had to have taken hundreds of people all working together for a common purpose. And think about the tech they were working with. They had exactly zero metal tools. Every single one of these massive pillars was quarried, moved, and then intricately carved using nothing more than sharpened flint. They literally had to chip away at solid bedrock to free these giants and then haul them uphill by hand. So who were these incredible builders? Well, all the evidence points to one group, hunter-gatherers. Yep, the very same people that the old textbooks told us were just living hand-to-mouth, too busy surviving to do anything big. Göbekli Tepe proves that they were capable of stunning social organization, all centered around a shared set of beliefs. So, if this was a temple, what exactly did they worship? Well, the pillars themselves are only real clues. They're just covered in these detailed carvings, giving us a true window into the minds of our Stone Age ancestors. And what's so fascinating is what they chose to carve. This isn't a gallery of the animals they were eating for dinner. No, this is a pantheon of predators. We see snakes, scorpions, lions, spiders. These are powerful, dangerous creatures. It really suggests that their worldview revolved around a deep respect for, and maybe even a fear of, the wild and untamable forces of nature. There's one pillar in particular, number 43, that really stands out. It's often called the vulture stone, and it doesn't seem to be just a random collection of animals. It looks like it's telling a story. It has this big vulture, a scorpion, and, most striking of all, a headless human figure. Now, this could be a major clue that the site was connected to their rituals around death, maybe an ancestor cult, or a way to understand the cycle of life and death through the animal world. But after centuries of building and using this site, the people of Göbekli Tepe did something truly baffling. They didn't just abandon their masterpiece. Or did they? The truth is so much stranger. This is probably the deepest riddle of the whole site.
Why would a society pour generations of blood, sweat, and tears into creating these incredible stone circles, only to turn around and intentionally bury them under tons and tons of dirt? Archaeologists now think the burial was actually part of the site's life cycle. An enclosure would be built and then used for rituals, and we know those rituals involved huge feasts, thanks to the tens of thousands of wild animal bones they found mixed in with the fill. Then, after maybe a century or so, they would ritually decommission it by burying it completely before moving on to build a new one nearby.
Now, here's the crucial part. This wasn't destruction. This was preservation. By deliberately burying their own temples, the builders of Göbekli Tepe created a perfect time capsule. They protected their masterpiece from the elements for over 10,000 years, almost as if they were waiting for someone like us to find it. So let's get to the bottom line. Why does this ancient buried temple matter so much to us today? Because, and this is no exaggeration, it fundamentally rewrites the story of who we are. For more than a century, the story of civilization was a straight line. First, we invented farming. That let us settle down. Once we had surplus food and permanent homes, society got more complex, and eventually we built temples. Göbekli Tepe takes that story and flips it completely on its head. The new theory? The desire to build a great spiritual center, a temple, came first.
Just think about it. To build something on the scale of Göbekli Tepe, you need to bring hundreds of workers together in one place for a very long time. You have to feed them. You have to organize them. This massive social and logistical problem may have been the exact motivation humanity needed to invent agriculture, not just for its own sake, but as a way to support a shared spiritual dream. In this new version of history, religion wasn't the result of civilization. It was the catalyst.
And this leaves us with one final, profound question. The incredible structures at Göbekli Tepe suggest that before we were farmers, before we lived in cities, we were pilgrims. It suggests that the impulse to ask the big questions, to find our place in the cosmos, and to come together to build something that would last, that might be the most fundamental driver in all of human history. Did our collective search for meaning literally build the world we live in today? Göbekli Tepe seems to suggest that the answer is yes.